evening, everybody, or morning or afternoon, depending on when you're listening to this. Welcome along to the Rangers Rabble podcast. This is your Friday night rabble. I don't know how we're going to top the afternoon rabble, but because I was listening as, wait till you hear this, guys, I was doing the housework, right? See, I don't know, right? Hello, everybody. Welcome, like, subscribe, and all that, right? We're going to talk Rangers in a second, right? See, because I've been working from home for so long now, right? Over the last sort of week, Mark, I've been getting into this thing where I've been doing the washing every day. I've been doing the dishes every day. I've been hoovering. I've been cleaning out the cupboards. I've been throwing away old clothes. And I can't stop myself. Is this a midlife crisis, Mark?
I think you're just getting house trained, aren't you? You're just becoming a domestic goddess.
I don't know. I don't know what's happening to me, man. But even when the missus comes home from work, right? Obviously, I'm like, yes, master, welcome home, master, right? But after that, right, I'm like that. Like, do we need this? Can I take that to the dump? Can this get binned? What's happening with that? What's going on, Wolf?
Well, you'll need to get her to teach you how to switch an iron on, because that's the proper iron. But that's just do what you have to do to keep them on side. You know what I mean? I'm home before my missus every day, and I usually have a tea on the table because it's just what you do. You know what I mean? Just got to keep them on side, mate, so that they get let loose to do stuff like this.
Do you know what? Maybe that's a good point, because I'm finding that she's moaning at me less.
So that's exactly what it is. Exactly what it is. Just keeps them on side. Brownie points, they call it.
I think doing the housework's actually worth it. Look, Dado Purser's Blue Boots is saying midlife crisis, buy a sports car. I would need to take a loan off Mark to buy a sports car, which, by the way, I've been accused of in the past.
Have you?
But yes, I have.
Incorrect. If that's the case, I've not seen any money back.
That's the case. I've not seen the money you gave me. But there we go. According to a few people, I have.
Well, my midlife crisis, I couldn't afford a sports car. I started running fucking marathons. There you go. That was my midlife crisis. Fortunately, I've got over it.
Yeah, but you started running marathons back in the 50s, well, when they were popular.
I ran my first marathon just before I turned 50. Believe it or not.
Oh, did you?
Uh-huh. Yep.
I'm not running any marathons anytime soon, I'm afraid.
No.
Yep.
No.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I've eaten a few marathons in my time.
Yes, marathons were bigger than Snickers. Anyway, we're not going there, right? Because we'll be here all night if that's the case. Yes, like and subscribe, folks, if you enjoy the content. Who doesn't enjoy talking midlife crises, marathons on a Friday night? There's worse things that we could absolutely be talking about. But, well, I actually want to get you and Mark's opinion on something that was discussed in the afternoon rabble today before we move on to the Old Firm and a couple of other things that I want to talk about. And that was Derek Ferguson's comments. I think it might have been on Open Goal or something, or in the paper. I don't know if Derek does that many things now, but he was saying that the players are showing a massive lack of respect to the manager in their performances. Now, I don't know if he was just meaning Barry or he was meaning previous management, but when the current Rangers manager's brother's coming out and saying things, of course you're going to put 2 and 2 together and possibly get 4, but you could also be getting 5.
I'm glad you clarified it was the current manager's brother, not his uncle. It was a bit of a slip from Hamish earlier. I was beside myself when he said that. I think he's right. For a start, he's absolutely right. It shows a serious lack of respect to the current manager, and I think you could probably say it shows a lack of respect to previous managers. But we don't know how much or how little what they've said to the players hasn't been taken on board, because they've not been as forthright as Barry. Because Barry's got nothing to lose, you know, saying what he's saying in press conferences. He has been very guarded, but he can come out and say stuff like that because he knows he's not getting the gig permanently. But I mean, his brother or his uncle or whoever, you know what I mean, he's 100% right. It is a massive disrespect. I mean, for any manager of any club to come out and say, look, during the week, we did this, and they totally disregarded. I mean, there was a point at the game, I believe, in Paisley, where the camera, I didn't see it because I was at the game, I didn't see it, but I've been told about it. The camera panned to the dugout, and Barry went, why don't you listen? Or you're not listening, or something like that. You know, you could see him mouthing that from a dugout. So, you know, clearly they're not listening. And if you're not listening to the manager, to me, that just shows total disrespect for the guy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but when the manager's brother's coming out and saying it, Mark, rightly or wrongly, it's going to hold a bit more weight, and you're going to start going, right, well, what's Barry saying to Derek? What's he saying about the players? What's he saying about this? What's he saying about that?
I mean, is it the nature of the beast now? I mean, I think this whole player power thing's it's a wee bit different from when we were young. The manager was the main man, and it was a man to be feared at one point. Now it's this prawn sandwich brigade and the fancy cars and the fancy haircuts and the stupid clothes is something that, and my agent will tell me what I'm doing and what I'm not doing and stuff like that. So there is that. I do agree that if they're not doing what the manager's told them, there's only one way that going to end is big hook, get them off, simple as that. But other side of the coin is as well a wee bit, and I kind of spoke about it today slightly, a little bit regarding respect-wise is a two-way street as far as I'm concerned, and let's face it, Barry's not really missed him. He's flung him under the bus. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't know if I'd be happy playing football for a man and trying to bust my gut and for a man that's flinging me under the bus every week. So for me, it's a two-way street. But I do see for me, you're meant to be a professional. You're meant to. This is your wage. This is what you do for a living. But back to my original point there, this is what happens with young boys that get too much money too fast and get everything handed to them on a plate. And so, I mean, I don't know. It is a lack of respect, but I think, as I said, for me, very much so. I might be just old school, but that's a two-way street.
Yes and no. Yes and no. Yeah, if you're not going to show respect to the manager, you're going to show respect to the fans who turn up in their droves, pay hard-earned money, have just a wee bit of humility and do your job. I know that's not the world that we live in, and footballers are footballers and they will be who they are, etc., etc. If you don't like a manager, but play for the fans at least we'll show a little bit of respect to us.
Oh, 100%. I mean, for me, Sunday will show whether Derek and others are right, wrong, or indifferent, because their domestic performances. Yeah, well, our domestic performances have been a shambles, right? The players haven't done anything. On a lot of occasions, they look like they've met in the car park, right?
We went to Parkhead and beat them under Barry. That's
what I'm saying. We did that, right? And the point I'm making is that if we go and put on a performance on Sunday, right, under the current regime, in fact, even this season, right, the decent performances, Celtic at Parkhead, hopefully Celtic on Sunday, Fenerbahce away. We did okay against Bilbao, Ibrox, didn't play too bad away. You know, we played well at Old Trafford. We did okay against Spurs. The so-called big games, they've done the business, and the games that there's eyes on, there's people watching that are probably mean quite a lot to everybody, right? But see that, for want of a better expression, the games against the Diddy teams, the St Mirrens and the Hibs and the Motherables, they just haven't turned up, and they haven't done what they're told. So for me, to your point, they need to show respect to the fans. That's completely disrespecting the fans, only turning up for the bigger games. When we would all die on our feet to get 5 minutes on that park with Rangers jersey. They should be doing that all the time, if not just for us, for their own professional pride. But if that's not good enough, right, they need to look around and they see Ibrox is. We haven't won a game at home in 6 games, right? Ibrox will still be packed on Sunday.
2nd of February, Wolf.
Right. In 10 of our last 12 games, we've conceded at least 2 goals, right? But Ibrox will still be packed on Sunday, right? I was lucky enough to be in Paisley at the weekend. There wasn't a single spare ticket outside that ground in Paisley, right? Rangers End was rammed full.
I've never heard anybody say they were lucky to be in Paisley.
There was folk lucky to be at the game. Well, not lucky to be in Paisley, but
hey, take that back. That comes from a boy for Hamilton.
I don't come for Hamilton. I live in Hamilton, right?
But you know what I mean? So, I mean, there's folk running about looking for tickets. Every one of these players has been here long enough now. They have to know how big the club is and what the club means. And if they don't, then they shouldn't be here. And a lot of them won't be here much longer. I mean, there was a comment went through earlier. If they're not doing what they're told, hook them. But you can't hook them all. And it's clear that a lot of them aren't doing what they're told. So, because you're only allowed 5 subs, so you can't just say, "Tell you what, we'll take 7 off and we'll go with 9." You know what I mean? You just can't do that. And a lot of the problem as well for me is a lot of them know that they're probably going to get a game regardless of how they play, because the squad's that threadbare, right? That without playing square pegs and round holes all over the pitch, most of them more or less know they're going to at the very least be on the bench, because we don't have enough players that are fit enough to play. So a lot of them, it doesn't really matter to them how they play, because they know they're going to get their game anyway.
Yeah, I'm just going to bring up Kevin Wilson's super chat here. Thank you very much, Kevin, for the support. Channel member as well. Welcome to the 3 best Rabble members. I mean, are you sure?
There's Meatloaf saying 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
I know.
He's plenty of the galleries there, isn't he, that boy? Definitely.
I think he is. I mean, Mark, me and you, obviously, but
I don't know. I don't like to speculate. I think Kevin should elaborate, not speculate.
Yes, well, continue to speculate and elaborate if you want, Kevin. But thank you very much for the super chat, my friend. It is greatly appreciated. And he's also saying, I feel sorry for Hamilton. I don't. I know that you feel sorry for Hamilton because I live here, but I've not went to watch them, so don't worry about it.
But it doesn't matter because they're moving to Broadwood.
Yes, they are. Thank God.
Which is ridiculous, because you'll have Hamilton playing where Clyde used to play and Clyde playing where Hamilton used to play. It's a wee bit.
I would rather go and watch Clyde, Will. I would rather go and watch Clyde than watch Hamilton any day.
Martin, it just sums up. I know somebody else is going to touch on the state of Scottish football, right? But it just sums up how bad Scottish football is when you've got things like that going on.
Yeah, I know. It kind of does, doesn't it? Maybe the guy that ran Hamilton should have focused more on Hamilton than another team. But he was too busy focused on that team than his own team. Gaz, 1872, thank you very much, my friend, for the super chat. Gaz, by the way, is one of the nicest people you will ever meet, and Wolf can back me up on that.
100%. Yeah, and he likes a good game of bingo as well, does he, Gaz?
By the way, he's a shark at bingo. I know that's really difficult because it's just numbers and it's your luck, but I've heard he's a bit of a shark at the old bingo. Mark, he's saying it's no Barry's fault that players are rotten. No, he's got a point.
He's definitely got a point there, yes. But I made the point as well today with somebody on a group that Clement got more of a tune out of these rotten players than Ferguson got. And listen, I love Barry. I wish him all the best. I mean, for me, the dream would have been Barry to come in, get a tune out of these boys, start them playing well, get a job, kick on, win leagues. But that's, for me, unfortunately, is a pipe dream. And I sound like I'm a Barry hater. That's not the case. I'm a realist. You've all watched this before. I'll tell it like it is. And he's no good enough. It's as simple as that. And you know, it's that whole, we've not really getting to play for, thanks for your service. But he's not getting a job. Simple as that.
Well, it's funny you say that, Mark, because in his press conference today, he said that he has sat down and spoke with Kevin Thelwell, the new sporting director. And he wasn't giving much away. And I think he was maybe trying to put the journals off the scent, although, Barry is quite close to one or two of the journals, about the direction of the club moving forward. He said he was very happy with the discussions. He got some stuff off his chest. Kevin got some stuff off his chest. He wasn't giving much away, Wolf, in terms of, the direction the club are looking at next season. And I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I do not see a multiverse or a universe or whatever the correct term is, that next season Barry Ferguson is the Rangers manager.
Oh, absolutely not. I think he knows that himself. I mean, what was interesting for me was he was asked the question, have you managed to speak at all to Kevin since he's come in? And he said, we sat down and had a good long discussion. It was him that said it was a decent length of discussion. And I'd like to think that Barry's saying, look, here's the players that I can trust. Here's the guys doing what I'm telling them. Here's the guys not doing what I'm telling them, to give them some sort of start. Because obviously at the moment, Kevin Thelwell is still an Everton employee. So on the time he's not working for Everton, obviously he can be speaking to Barry or whoever about Rangers, because everybody knows he's coming to Rangers. But he won't have the time to spend. For example, he probably won't be at the game at the weekend. I don't know when Everton are playing, but I'm assuming it'll be Sunday. So, you won't see firsthand live what's going on. So he needs to speak to somebody that is there, which is the current manager. So, and I would think Barry, as Barry keeps emphasising, he's at
Everton are playing Ipswich tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
Well, he might be at the game on Sunday. They might make the game on Sunday. I shouldn't really have checked that, but anyway. But I'd like to think, as Barry keeps telling us, he's a Rangers fan, and we all know that. And he always wants what's best for the club, whether going forward, whether that involves him or not. So I'd like to think he'll be telling Kevin Thelwell the truth about what his opinion is on players. And obviously everybody's different opinions. And I'd imagine that Thelwell will be speaking to all the coaching staff. He won't just speak to the manager. He'll speak to Neil McCann. He'll speak to Billy Dodds. He'll speak to guys around the academy, because I know they were I know it was highlighted that they were all cutting about Ibrox in the middle of the week, but they were also at the training centre, because that's where Barry Ferguson sat down with Kevin Thelwell. And he said he only saw the incoming consortium guys in passing as they were going about the corridors of Howie. So I mean, they've seen the whole thing, the boot and braces, which has got to be good going forward. But I mean, for me, the most interesting thing that came out of the press conference was Andy Devlin actually calling their place Parkhead, because journalists aren't allowed to do that. So he'll probably get his knuckles up for that. well done, Andy Devlin for that. I noticed that.
I'm trying to think. Andy Devlin. I was covering a game at Ibrox once, and there was a reporter sitting next to me, and I think it might have been Andy Devlin, but it was because
you were covering it with me, and he introduced himself to me because I know his father-in-law.
He's a dick, isn't he?
I've only met him a couple of times, so
he's a dick. He's an arrogant dick. Aye.
Don't hold back, Martin. Tell us what you
really
think.
I won't hold back. The guy's an arrogant dick.
This is a new thing. You're just heart in your sleeves. Just tell it like it is. I like that.
Wouldn't even look the direction I was on. Guy's an arrogant dick. Sorry, Wolf, carry on. Oh, were you done?
I'm done.
Done. You were done. Right, fair enough. No, sorry, apologies. I didn't mean to put sparrows into the works there. I may be wrong. He may be the nicest guy in the world, but I found him very arrogant.
I don't know well, when I've only met him I think I've met him a couple of times, but his father-in-law's a really, really nice fella, and a dyed-in-the-wool blue nose, and he has been for 70 odd years. So,
well, fair play to his father-in-law. I don't like his son-in-law. Just for meeting him once, and he was very arrogant. Didn't look the road I was on. Didn't even say hello. Sitting next to me. So sorry, no interest.
I tried not to look the road you were on, and 4 years later, here we are.
Exactly. But at least when you never looked the road I was on, you still said hello, which is more than I can say for Andy Devlin.
It wasn't even looking at you. He was squint. He's got a squint.
Obviously, I'm not popular enough for Andy Devlin to speak to. What paper is it he writes for anyway?
Well, couldn't tell you. Not a clue.
Anyways, moving on. Martin was expecting him to ask for a selfie. No, I hate selfies. I despise them. And Jimbo, I can confirm that I am a dick. I never hide for that. I never ever hide for that. At least I know what I am. Mark, it happened during the week, but we'll touch on it quickly because we've got so much to discuss. And I'm feeling kind of animated tonight, so I want to get into it. The 49ers and Andrew Kavanagh, the 49ers Enterprises, I should say, and Andrew Kavanagh were having a wee tour of Ibrox during the week there, Mark, after we were being mocked apparently on a Celtic show. Because they still don't believe that there's a takeover, and the guys crunched the numbers. Yes, a fake over, and he's crunched the numbers, and he knows all his stuff. Really smart people on these Celtic podcasts. But yeah, the 49ers Enterprises, Parat McGrath, or however, I don't know how you say his name properly, so I do apologise for butchering it. We're at Ibrox taking a wee tour, Mark, just to add more fuel to the fake over fires.
Yes, it was very staged. I think it was very much sending a message without actually sending a message.
Yeah.
But do you know what? It was absolute gold. I loved every single minute of it. I think I've maybe watched it 5, 6, maybe 7 times. It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Now, that just shows everybody, as far as I'm concerned, this deal's done. I think that they're no walking around and having tours. That's like going going to view a house that you're not going to buy. You're not going to do that, are you? You go and view a house, you go, do you know what? That's lovely. I think we'll stick an offer in. Offer's been accepted, and when you do, you go, I know it's not done and dusted yet, but is there any chance we can come and measure the curtains, measure up for carpets?
In
And,
all fairness, Mark, I've
see
viewed
if
a
there's
few
room for-
houses that I haven't
Huh?
bought, so I don't know if that analogy works because I've viewed a few houses that I haven't
But
bought.
once you've got the offer accepted, you're not going to go and view a house and measure up for curtains, are you?
No, of course not. Once you view it and you make
No.
the offer, you're not going to then go and
That's what I mean.
review it if you're not
Offer's
going to
been
buy it.
accepted.
Yeah.
Offer's been accepted, innit? You're going to go and measure up, make sure your sofa fits and all that good stuff. See how many tons of chuckies you need for the front driveway. You know the dance or the story. So that's exactly what they were doing. They've kicked the tires. Now we're selling cars. See how I can just swing for cars to houses and back again. But no, in all seriousness, I think it was very much sending a message. I think the Americans like all this kind of like subliminal stuff that we're here. We're ready to take over. We've got a bit of a front that look at us, we can just swan about, and this gaff, basically, as far as I'm concerned, this gaff is ours. So I think that that for me was something that I think all Rangers fans gave us a wee lift that day. I think we all had a wee bit of a skip my step that day, which I think was exactly why it was done. Because there was no need for them to walk round the stadium and in and out. They could have been sneaked in and sneaked out.
Do you know what? You're 100% right, Mark. See if this deal wasn't anywhere near being done, and this was the early stages of discussions, and they were coming to have a look, we wouldn't even know they were there, right? Because we would never have heard of them, right? We wouldn't even know they were there, and they wouldn't be coming to have a look, Wolf, if it wasn't serious and they weren't close, because there wouldn't be a camera crew there with them walking around the ground.
No, well, as Mark says, they wouldn't have been walking around the ground because obviously they were driven in through the gates, parked the car trackside, gone out the tunnel. You can get all the way around Ibrox without going outside. So that was deliberate. Right? The very fact that they put out a joint statement with Rangers the other day to say we're having discussions, you know, they're meaningful, they're ongoing. The very fact that it was a joint statement between Kavanagh, the 49ers investment football arm or whatever they're called, and Rangers tells you that this deal's happening. I mean, that other side can say whatever they like about a takeover or whatever, right? It's 100% happening. I mean, Rangers don't appoint a sporting director from anywhere when they're looking to move the club on if the deal's not already done. Because Kevin Thelwell's there because the investors that are coming in have said, look, this is a guy we want to do that job, right? And that's why he's coming. Because let's be honest, if you're Kevin Thelwell and the current Rangers board come to you and say, you want to come and work for us once your contract with Everton finishes, come and work for us. But by the way, somebody's going to be buying us over, so we don't know if they like you.
Mm-hmm.
But come and work for us anyway. He's going to be like, no, I'm not touching that. Because I don't know if they want me.
I don't think Thelwell, and with all due respect to our football club, which we all love more than most things, I don't think Thelwell comes to Rangers in its current state.
100% he doesn't. No, absolutely doesn't. But like I say, you wouldn't because you know that they're trying to offload. I mean, I know from a fairly reliable source that some of the outgoing owners who are selling their shares the deal's already done. The shares are already transferred to the consortium, to either the Kavanagh or the 49ers or whoever it is just taking over his share, that person's shares. I mean, I've heard that second hand. It's from a very reliable source. So I mean,
is that for your aunties, uncles, greengrocers, little cousins, stepbrothers, barber?
No, somebody a bit closer to
Taxi driver.
But
taxi driver.
the deal's done. 100% the deal's done.
Yes,
so,
it is. I've never seen.
Right, I mean, by all accounts, they're all going to be at the Old Firm as well.
Well, you would be, wouldn't you? You would be when you're over.
But where do they get tickets from? What's their Ryder status? We need to know about that.
Well, this was mentioned on the afternoon rabble. If they get tickets and good, hard-working, supporting, plebish Rangers fans like myself don't, then that's bang out the order.
100%.
I don't care if they're spending 100 million, right? That's bang out the order. So it is. I've never known this. I shouldn't be surprised, Mark, right? But I made the point, if the shoe was on the other foot, right, and everything that was happening at Rangers right now was was what was actually happening at Celtic and vice versa, right? So we were a dominant team, winning everything, and Celtic were in the state that we're in currently, and somebody was coming to buy them over, and it was going to be billionaires. I would be sitting on here saying to you to, right here, by the way, we're the dominant force right now, but hold on, look what's happening over there. We need to get ourselves in order. We need to make sure that our transfers are spot on. We need to make sure that, what would it be, Douglas Park or whatever, is putting their hand in their pocket and spending wisely. I wouldn't be sitting on here, Mark, going, look at Celtic, that's a fake over. Oh, but look at all the fans getting excited. My brain can't compute their response to this.
The big difference is we're not obsessed. That's the big difference, the massive difference in this.
I still couldn't tell you who they're playing a week after us. I still don't know.
No idea. That's something about a strip deal. No idea what it is. Couldn't tell you what it is. I couldn't even tell you who the strip deal is with.
Well,
and it just shows you I'm not interested in that.
Put it in the comments.
We've spoke about it before, and see if I open a paper, I'll get back. No, this is me getting back in time, because when you used to actually read papers and stuff, right? We'll remember, yeah, the old paper. Used to open a paper and there was pictures and everything in it, and
yes,
well, you would open.
What page number was that, Mark?
We're not going into that. We're not getting there. Depends on what paper you bought, right enough. But
this is true.
So you would. For me personally, I don't know, maybe Wolf might be the same here, but back page was Celtic, I'd open it up. If the next two pages were Celtic, I'd pass them by and go to I'd seen something about Rangers or somebody else. But I'm not interested, I don't care. Could not care less what they're up to. And as far as I'm concerned, that's what I've always done. I don't know, maybe I'm strange and I'm weird and I don't know, but even like the likes of anything that comes up on YouTube that's even slightly Celtic related, I'm like, I don't want to click on that, because it'll generate more stuff the same. And I'm like, I'd hate to get constantly opening like YouTube or whatever and just getting bombarded with mad Celtic stuff.
Well, I'll tell you, Mark. See, occasionally, on TikTok, if you scroll through TikTok, there's this one podcast that keeps coming. I know you don't, Wolf, because you're about 80, right? But there's this one podcast that keeps coming up, and it's a Rangers fan and a Celtic fan. I don't know if you have seen this. Have you seen this?
No.
It's a Rangers fan and a Celtic fan doing a podcast. In theory, that should be quite good. That should generate a lot of views. I couldn't imagine doing that.
No, I couldn't do it. I relayed a story to you a couple of weeks ago. I was cycling home from work, and a guy shouted on me as I went by this house, and I stopped, and I thought, do I know this fella? And it turns out he's a Celtic podcaster who watches the Rabble religiously. He says, but we all watch each other. As mate, I couldn't tell. I've never watched a Celtic. He even told me the name of the podcast he was on. I've never even heard of it, because I've got no interest in anything.
It could be that one with the Rangers fan.
No, it was called the Four Leaf Clover. That was the name of the podcast. So that I remember the name because that's what he said. But not a clue. But the guy recognised me. I was just cycling past his house, and he recognised me. You know what I mean? And he said, because we just watch each other's, mate. I don't. And he says he religiously watches the Rabble. And I can't remember his name. I was looking for it on my phone. I couldn't find it. So if you are watching, hiya, good evening. How are you?
Well, just while we're on the vanity subject, right, I might as well be a bit vain for a couple of minutes. And apologies to my delivery driver, right? I don't know his name, right? But I would class myself, and tell me if I'm wrong, as the main host on the Rabble. Is that fair?
Yes.
Right?
So I would agree with that, yes.
So the guy comes to the door. Donald lovingly sent me through this, which I will show you just now. It's the Rabble. It's a nice wee thing. So Donald sent me that through. And the delivery driver came to the door and I opened it and he went, oh, love you on the pod. The main guy, I don't know, he panders to the other side a wee bit too much, but I like you on the pod. So I'm like, oh, thanks very much, mate. I appreciate that. And I closed the door and I went, I think I'm the main host. Is he talking about me? What's the script here? I don't know what's going on. But anyway, just a wee vanity thing there. I thought I would bring that up. Let's move on, shall we? Let's talk a little bit, if we can, before we talk Old Firm, about the future, Mark, of Scottish football. Rangers, as we all know, have effectively scrapped their B team. Albeit, obviously, the Glasgow Cup was the other day off, as you know. But now Celtic have done the same. And the talk is that a lot more teams, Mark, in Scottish football are going to follow suit. So the kind of lowest or the highest tier underneath the first team, it's looking as though, Mark, it's going to be under 19. I'm going to go right up to under 23, Mark, to give young players a chance. The talk is that the best players at Rangers and Celtic, and I don't know what other teams in the top league, their players will be loaned out. How's this all going to work, Mark, and what's the future of Scottish football going to look like?
So, as you know, grassroots is something that's very, very, very close to my heart. For those that don't know, I run a kids football team, and I see it every day. I see the quality of the young boys that are playing is getting down massively over. I mean, even when I go back to me playing football, when I played football, I think that maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm too old and I don't remember. But even the quality of players that I played with at the same age group as our coach was night and day, quality wise, player wise. Some of the players that I played with were brilliant. Some of the even for the point of view of the kind of knowledge of the game and their understanding of the game and stuff like that is so diminished. It's quite scary. It really is, and it quite from my point of view, even somebody that was never really that great at football. I mean, I was all right. I could hold my own, but it's frightening. It's frightening because even like the likes of, as it stands at the minute, from grassroots, my boys train in AstroTurf, and they don't really train in grass at all because you can't, Scottish games, you can't get grass pitches or you can't get decent grass pitches. And the problem is, so see with our team plays against a team that we're playing in grass. They don't know how to play in grass, and it's mad. It's mad. It's like it's a strange thing to try and get your head around. I mean, even the likes of, for the point of view of your councils. So, I mean, obviously it's Renfrew Council. So Renfrew Council's pitches shut in the summer. You cannot get a grass pitch in the summer. You cannot book a grass pitch in the summer. So you can only book a grass pitch in the winter months, which you can't play in the grass pitch in the winter months in Scotland because the weather's terrible. So the problem is that the grassroots football is all geared to play in AstroTurf. And see the amount of young boys, so we're 11 aside, we're under 14s, and the amount of young boys that will get knee issues and knee problems in my team is frightening. I mean, when we were all young, you played football. I could get out of the house at 9 o'clock in the morning and I could play football at 7 o'clock at night when it started getting dark. You had to get up the road. And I know this is a wee bit nostalgia for an old man, but hear me out. These young boys are playing in AstroTurf or 5G or whatever you want to call it. But see the amount of them, we get 4 or 5 out of maybe a squad of 18 at 20 that have got really, really bad knee problems. And sometimes they can't come to training, they can't play because of their knees. And people, you've got professional teams playing in this. And the problem is that this whole grassroots system's absolutely gubbed. Even you look at the way things are put in place that you're meant to. I mean, this is a whole other pod, to be perfectly honest with you. I could talk about this for ages because it can boils my piss. But even the way that the setup is for games. So just that really, really quick one before I shut up, I'll make a point about the Rangers thing. So for instance, so the grassroots, the small-sided games, i.e. so 9-a-sides, 7-a-sides, is all the youth, young ones, right? So all these AstroTurf pitches are booked by the councils. From 9 a.m. up till 12, yeah. So they book all these pitches and they tell these young ones where they're playing, right, which is absolutely fine. So everybody's got a pitch, everybody's playing football. But for my point now, so my age group, when you start getting into 11s, we can't get a pitch for love nor money. Cannot buy a pitch for love nor money. So it's a nightmare to try and book a pitch for a league game. But our league tells us that we must kick off before 11:30 on a Saturday. But the league books every AstroTurf pitch in the whole of Renfrewshire up to 12 o'clock. So we've got four divisions that can't get a pitch. You can split it and add into that come the winter months, they shut all the grass pitches. So you can't play football, and then add on to that excuse me a minute, boys. And then add on to that the fact that everywhere you go, if there's any bit of grass for the boys to play football, they're building houses on it. Or there's no ball game signs, and they're chasing kids because they're taking a ball about. So this whole thing is that this country is never ever going to progress in football wise. It really, as I said, this is a whole podcast as far as I'm concerned, because it absolutely boils my piss. Because how are these boys meant to progress? How are these boys meant to get to the next level when they can't even get a game of football? And this is what it just busts my chops. I know I've ranted and raved for a bit, but
no, listen, I take that on board. And see, when we were growing up and you used to see those signs that said no ball games, that used to really frustrate me. Unless it was in like a wee tiny scheme with like a tiny wee patch of grass, then fair enough, because people's fishes run about and stuff like that. But Mark's 100% right. See, when I was growing up, and I'm making myself sound a lot older than what I am, right? But 20 years ago, 25 years ago, you had school teams, you had the boys brigade, you had amateur teams. There was loads and loads of ways that people with not a lot of money could access playing football. And not just access playing football, but access to scouts watch you play football. That seems to me to be gone or going.
Yeah. I go back even further than you. When I was growing up, we played football on any spare bit of grass. I mean, those no ball game signs usually ended up being the goalposts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because nobody really cared. We used to play where I grew up. We were a gable end house, and across the road there was another gable end house. There was two little patches of grass between the gable end and the pavement. We just played across the road. The road was the middle of the pitch, with the grass on either end and the gable ends were the goals. Can't do that now because there's far too many cars on the road. I get that. I mean, times have moved on. I make myself sound like I'm Victorian, but it's not quite that bad. But even go back to the 80s, there was a lot less stuff on the road. There's very little school football now. I don't think I've got loads of schools round about where I am. There's a big big park of football pitches up the road for me. And when I moved to Aberdeen, there was football on there 3 or 4 times at the weekend on these grass pitches. Now half these pitches have got rugby posts on them. One of them's got a cricket crease on it. There's about 2 of them with football goals on them now. And there used to be.
Is football middle class now, Wolf? Is that a middle class sport?
I wouldn't say football's a middle class sport.
I'll just jump in there. You need to have money to play for your kid to play football now. It is mental. I'm constantly looking to try and raise money for teams and stuff like that. And your referee in the day is 50 quid for your referee, and then your 60 can be 60 to 70 pound for a pitch. Sometimes it's 120. See, if you book Glasgow Green, 120 nicker for a pitch for 2 hours if you can get one.
See, that's everything that's all. That's everything that's all the game. Like, see, when we were all younger, right? You found a spare bit of ground and that was it. And any pitch that was there, they weren't fenced in. As Mark says, now it's all Astro pitches, right? And they're all fenced in. They're all locked off. You can't even go in out of hours and play without breaking into it. And you break into it, you're going to get someone to bother, right? Now, for me, just thinking about when Mark was speaking, right? The senior clubs are part of the problem because see if you go to any of the training grounds, right? I mean, Aberdeen's training grounds only 3 or 4 miles from where I'm sitting. I pass it all the time, right? They've got a couple of grass pitches, but all the pitches that they train the kids on, it's all Astro. You know, they play the youth games. I'll go watch a youth team up here if they're playing at Cormac Park. It's Astro pitches. You go to York and Howie, there's a couple of grass pitches, but you know they've got Astro pitches. A lot of the stuff the pitches that they rent out, it's all Astro pitches. You know what I mean? But it's not just here. I mean, I was over in Prague at the beginning of June last year, and there was a football tournament. Cumbernauld Colts were over at it, and my mate's a coach at Cumbernauld Colts, so I went to have a look at it. And it was actually the Sparta Prague training ground, which the Czech national team use as well. They've only got 2 grass pitches here. The rest of it's all Astro pitches because they rent them all out. You know, they just for some reason they're easier to keep. I think so. They just use them. You know what I mean? It's just it's mental. And I mean, it was news to me that Celtic were winding up the. You said before we came on, they were winding up their B team. That's going to affect the Lowland League, which again is going to affect grassroots football in Scotland because I think they finished second top of the Lowland League. I happened to catch that the other day. You know what I mean?
Oh, somebody sent me a clip of Celtic's PLZ soccer. And there was a guy on there talking about it, apparently. It was only like a minute clip or whatever. But he was making it out as if it was, a massive positive, and Celtic were doing everything to help the Scottish game, because as we all know, Celtic's main aim is to help the Scottish game. But yeah, that was just, I felt it was an interesting topic. I'm going to get Wally Urban on soon to have a right good discussion about youth development and stuff like that, and see what's happening. Because obviously, Wally's get his ear to the ground on most things Rangers youth, so we'll be getting him on. Let's finish up, chaps, shall we, about talking about the game at the weekend, because we can't not talk about the game at the weekend. Mark, the Old Firm, obviously, of course, we all want to win it. But is the battle fever on?
For me, at the moment, no, and it'll probably usually it's the run up, that build up to the game, that whole week's you're looking forward to it. It's an excitement, and it builds to a crescendo. At the moment, no. I'll probably get it half an hour before the game, but it's a very, very hard one, because for me it's never meaningless against them, but I just feel the worst. I really do. I think that for me, my thoughts are that this consortium is going to rock up, and for me, I would like to put our best foot forward and show them that we're a real team, and show them what Ibrox is like, and I know Fun Day and have it rocking and all that. And there's intrepidation rather than excitement about this game. I don't know. It's. I think we probably all feel a wee bit, and if we're honest with ourselves, we're a wee bit scunnered with football. This end of this season can't come quick enough, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, do you know what? I kind of feel the same way. Just before I come to you, Will, the Catalyst has put in a super chat saying, I don't know what to say. But you've said more than what you think you've said, Catalyst, so thank you very much for the super chat, my friend. Channel member as well, thank you for the support. Kevin Wilson's back in again. Thank you, Kevin. Martin, you doing any live shows in a pub, etc.? I'm thinking about it. It's logistically, it's difficult. And I'm a wee bit feared we won't sell tickets for it. If I'm being brutally honest, that's the honest to God truth. So I'll see how the land lies at the end of the season, and see if anybody's interested in maybe us putting on a live show. I would obviously need to put Will front and centre, because he is the celebrity on the podcast.
So the Hydro's available.
Is the Hydro available, is it? Is that what the wee corner in the Hydro for us? Is that the bit you're talking about? Is the main?
Yeah, we stall outside.
Aye, we could get a wee stall outside with just a couple of microphones with Will standing next to us.
Just use the taxi shelter outside the Hydro.
We probably could. I could probably use my sunroom, to be honest with you. But yeah, I'm looking at it, Kev. I have been for a while, and we shall see in the near future. And just finally on this, I'm the only player to go to Mount Florida Primary School, the Battlefield Primary School, for a transfer fee. And that's when we played in Torry Glen, when Torry Glen used to have the red ash pitches. I don't know if you'll know that, Will, because obviously you don't live anywhere near Torry Glen, but during my school days.
I know what Torry Glen is. My primary school had a red ash pitch in Fort Royal, and it was horrendous. Red ash pitch and solid steel goalposts. They were round. They must have been about 6 inches thick. These things were horrific.
When we played for the school team at the weekend, it was always, you played 2 or 3 games, and you always played once on the red ash pitch. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But what's that, Mark?
Victor Moldmaster ball. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Red ash Moldmaster.
I also remember there was a wee gap between where the grass pitches were in Torry Glen, and you walked through to the red ash pitch, and there was a big arse puddle, and I jumped in it, and it was like a Don French moment. Didn't realise how deep it was, and I went, man. Oh, those were the days when the only thing you had to worry about was getting home to tell your mom that you were soaking for a massive big puddle. Well, game at the weekend. I take it you're going to miss this one. You're not going to go.
No, I think I'll go. I'm glad for punishment. I'm doing the women's game on Sunday as well, which after Wednesday night's going to be a thought. But yeah, looking forward to it. Always look forward to a trip to Ibrox. As I said earlier, I've got no qualms that we'll turn up on Sunday because we always turn up for games like that. You know, as you pointed out, we've beat them. We've beat them the last twice. I mean, if we beat them on Sunday, that's the first time since 96, 97. We've beat them 3 times in a row in the league. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I've got no. My concern is if we don't turn up, they put their foot in my throat. They won't stop. I mean, there's been times in the past where they've got 4 or 5. This lot won't stop at that if they get the upper hand. If we don't show up, so we have to show up, or it's going to get really, really silly. But I don't think it will. I think we will put on a show. I expect us to get a positive result of some sort.
Well, this sounds like a bit of a stupid question, right? But bear with me. They're about to win a treble, right?
Mm-hmm.
Coming into this game on Sunday, is Brendan Gucci Belt Rogers, is he under more pressure than, say, Barry or the Rangers team, to be honest? Because I kind of feel like he has to win. But the majority of Celtic fans, I would imagine, still don't like him very much, right? Because we all know that he buggered off when Stevie G was starting to get a bit of momentum. And then he only came back because obviously we were getting run terribly and he could see that he was going to win everything, right? But is he under a bit of pressure on Sunday? Because he has to win that, surely.
He does have to win it from his point of view. I don't really want to talk about him because I probably like him a lot less than the Celtic fans do, and they don't like him. But if he doesn't win it, if he doesn't beat us on Sunday, the first Old Firm game of next season is at Ibrox, and if he's still there, and I've got my doubts he will be, right? It's then a thing that he's not beat us in 3 games. Mm-hmm. That becomes a thing, and hopefully we start
the same thing that Clermont had at the start of this season.
Yeah, basically, yeah, yeah, and you know. It's usually the 4th or 5th game in, so hopefully we've won the first 3 games. Obviously, they'll only have played 2 because they'll cancel their game before the Champions League playoff, which they're allowed to do because, funnily enough, they've got a playoff. And on that, isn't it very interesting that the SPFL have come out and said, well, there's no way we can do anything with the top league. It's got to stay 10. And they only announced the fact that was even a possibility to hide some other news that broke the day they broke that news. But that's, again, as Mark said earlier, that's a total other podcast as well. Yeah, I've got no qualms about Sunday. Yes, it's a big game for him. It's a bigger game for us because we need to prove. We don't need to prove anything against them this season. We've beat them twice already. We know we can beat them. Our problem is consistency. Because
home form apparently.
No, home form's rotten. We haven't won in 6 at home. I think it's 6. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, Mr. Ferguson as manager has to win 1 game at home, right? At least, and hopefully it's this one. Because what concerns me more than this one is the 3 games after it, because we all said the last game that really mattered was Bilbao unless we beat them, and obviously we went out to Bilbao. Then everyone said, well, we've still got an Old Firm game to go, and Old Firm games are massive. There's no such thing as a meaningless Old Firm game.
No, that's true.
But once Sunday's out the way, we've got 3 games that really in the grand scheme of things don't mean anything. And that's the sort of games where we should be playing players who we expect to be about next season. However, the problem is we don't know who the manager's going to be next season. So we can say to Barry Ferguson, right, look, you need to be playing the guys that you think will be about, but what he thinks and what an incoming manager thinks might be completely different. You know, he might say, well, okay, Bayrami hasn't kicked his own arse, I'll not play him. New manager could come in and say, you're exactly what I'm looking for. You know what I mean? So he's stuck between a rock and a hard place, really. But let's just get Sunday out of the way. Let's just beat them on Sunday and hopefully 3 games look after himself.
You're talking about who should play, and I can't remember where I heard. I think it might have been on the afternoon rabble, actually, Mark. I heard this, that our top goal scorer against Celtic this season is Danilo, right? Which is weird considering the guy's barely played. But this almost feels like a redundant question, because if you asked me who should play on Sunday, Mark, my answer would be I don't know anymore.
I think it might be Barry's answer as well.
Mm.
It really might be. I don't know. I really don't know. The state of play.
I mean, look, we could say, do you play Czerny? He's probably not going to be here next season, so should he play? He's been our best player this season. Should Nsiala come in? Should Balogun come back? Because obviously Barry said in the press the other day he's got a face mask on. Does John Souttar's form deserve a place? Should Dessers play? Should Bailey Rice keep his place? Should we bring in Cortez to try him? I just don't know where this Rangers team sits right now, Mark.
Well, see,
That tells you a big thing about where this club is and where this team is, really, because I think probably all of us think the exact same way regarding that. We could all sit here arguing about who plays up, who starts. Dessers, he likes Dessers, he'll probably play him, but for me, I would put Igaman up there. You've nothing to lose. I think he seems to show up in the big games. Let's face it, we scored a screamer the last time, so I think it'd be buzzing to play against them. What do you do? Do you play this 5 at the back, 3 at the back, 5 at the back? I really don't know. Really, there's so many things that we could sit and argue about. Does Hadji come back in, playing the left side?
He scored in the last game against them.
Yeah,
Has he done enough
for me,
since he's come into the team?
I don't know. It's very, very. As I said, it shows you the state of this team and where we are. Like I said to you previously, for me, I hope we win. I hope we go out there and get in amongst them, no matter who plays. But I'm desperate to get this game over and done with. Hopefully we win it. Hopefully that's Barry's swan song, and we kick on. Hopefully, I've got a funny feeling, right? And if the result's bad for us, I think there'll be an announcement Monday.
But I mean, that's not a bad shout. That isn't a bad shout. Well, final word tonight to you.
No, the final word tonight for me is actually from the manager. Because I agree 100% with what he said earlier in his press conference today. Exactly what he said was, I don't care about the performance, I just want to win.
Yes, 100%. And
100%.
Oh, yeah, that's another conversation, to be fair. But yeah, I think he was asked, do we put too much on performances and not enough on results? And I think as the results would show that is absolutely the case. But look, just before we go tonight, folks, regular viewers will know or notice that Kenny hasn't been on for just over a week now, and he won't be back on anytime soon, I don't think. He's had some tragic family news, and I was talking to him today, and he's still a bit shook up, and his head's not in a great place. So everybody at the Rabble, all the Rabble regulars that tune in and watch, I would imagine we give our love to Kenny and his mum, who is an avid watcher as well. So I want to say a big hello to Winnie and say that, everybody at the Rabble's thoughts are with you right now for the horrible situation that you're going through, and we send our love. So hopefully Kenny can come back soon. Everybody loves Kenny's sense of humour and the daft ball hats that he wears. For regular viewers, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. But right now, my love, Wolf's love, Mark's love, everybody involved with the Rabble's love goes to Kenny, 100%. Winnie, and the whole Kenny Orr family, or the whole Orr family, I should say. Right, folks, that will do us there for tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please do like, share, and subscribe. I didn't do the whole like thing tonight. I thought I would give the night off, and I'll tell you right now, if it's worked or not, it hasn't. So I'm going to keep going on about it in the future. So like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and share it to all your Celtic fan pals, because they seem to love tuning in. So that will get the views up. That will get my kitchen extension. That will get my garden redone. That will
get me money back.
Loan back that I clearly owe Mark for a holiday apparently. But there we go. Jim Sloan, follow, lads. Great pod. We are the peoples. Thank you very much, Jim. Channel legend, Rabble owner, as Jim is now. Thank you very much, Jim. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We are back tomorrow for our beautiful members. At 11 a.m. for the random Rabble, and then of course we've got everything. The Extreme Gaming show is out tomorrow night as well, and then we've got all the build up to the Old Firm, the watch along, and the reaction on Sunday. So thank you all, thank you Mark, thank you everybody for watching, and we shall speak very, very soon.